By popular demand today, talking about handgun grip for dummies. Apparently there are some dummies that subscribe to this channel that think they want a video suited just to them. No, I'm not being serious. No one's dumb, honestly. We all start at the same place. We're talking about, what I want to talk specifically is about gripping a handgun and probably some things that people don't think about. First off, let's talk about hand placement. This is going to vary a bit from what some people start with as far as the first topic they get emotional on. Your firing hand. Yeah, I grip high in the beaver tail of the pistol. Thumb stays up, so I have room here for my support hand. My middle finger is high up contacting the trigger guard. Well, nobody's going to really argue with me there. Support hand comes in. I just hit the bottom of the trigger guard, close, so my hands hit together. That's basically it for my grip. I like that one because it's easy. While the gun's coming up to the target, I could just hit my hand on the bottom of the trigger guard like this, close, clamp down, and it's just an easy spot to find the positioning for my hands. But if you want to do this, what a better angle. You want to do this, you want to do your finger around the front of the trigger guard, that's cool too. You want to do like whatever, any of this kind of stuff, I don't really care. I mean, I wouldn't want to do one of these, but other than that, wherever your support hand goes, I don't really care that much, which some people really talk about too much. I don't think it matters. Important things. You have this gap in here that you want to create maximum contact of the meaty part of your support hand with the frame, because the more you can contact the frame, the better. For example, if when I gripped the pistol, it looked like this, in my hand, when I grip the pistol with my support hand, it's just grabbing my fingers. That's not going to help me with controlling recoil because I want to contact the frame, not my hands. So, if when you grip the gun, your favorite gun, it looks something like this, there's no room, then you probably want either bigger like grip panels, or if it's a gun with interchangeable back straps, putting a bigger back strap in, probably at least the medium or large for most adult males. That just gives you more to hang on to on the gun because, again, you want to maximize surface area on the gun. Don't care as much about where you want the support hand to go. Some people like the finger in the front of the trigger guard thing. It's fine too. The only important part is just that you're applying the same pressure every time. For example, putting your finger on the front of the trigger guard, I can very easily steer the gun. If I start pulling or pushing with that, it's a really easy way to drive the gun around. I'm not even applying that much force, and it's just easy to move it around. So with whatever you choose, it's just important that it's repeatable. Your hands go to the same spot and use the same pressures. Which is the next part. I think it's the most important part to talk about that actually is worth talking about. It's the pressures you use. Since this is for dummies, just on a broad stroke, what I want to do is have my firing hand hold the gun, but not as hard as I can possibly hold it. My fingertips don't really turn white, anything crazy. One Ben came up with that I like is having your hand relaxed enough that you could move your middle finger up off the gun. That's about right for pressure. I wouldn't want to clamp so hard that I couldn't separate out that middle finger to lift it off the gun. And I also strongly dislike any amount of like the pinky pressure or trying to put, like I'm going to use these two fingers to clamp on the gun. I don't like any of that. So for me, it's just one pressure with my firing hand. All I'm doing is just holding on to the gun. Again, with enough that I could pull my middle finger off the frame, but I'm holding onto it firm enough that you're not gonna pull the gun out of my hands. It's if the gun recoils or moves, my hand's staying on the gun. I don't want it to be so loose that my hand's going to move around in the grip. So just enough that's it's in place. You're not going to take it from me. It's not going to fall out, but it's not death gripping it. With the support hand, the pressures, I'm going to clamp down about as hard as I can. Not so much that I get the shake, but just a little bit shorter than that. Nothing really bad happens with clamping too hard, but some people that are super ripped, I'm sure, could crush the grip of the gun or something like that. But what you actually want to have happen is gripping the gun hard enough with your support hand that everything just stays together. What I mean is when the gun recoils, I don't want my support hand to stay like this. If you watch, especially slow motion videos of people showing how like straight their gun shoots or how soft, you'll commonly see this kind of stuff. So watch. The camera does some weird zoomy stuff. The top of my index finger on my support hand, if I'm shooting and there's a separation there, that's a problem. If you see me shoot and you see there's some kind of separation where the angle of my hands doesn't stay the same. So notice right now my support hand is still exactly where it would be and the gun's recoiling and my support hand's not moving with it. That's a problem too. So what you want is just enough pressure that when everything recoils, it all recoils together at one piece. So again, firing hand, just firmly enough to hold it in place. With the support hand, you can death grip it, but some cases you don't necessarily have to go as hard as you possibly can, but it has to be firm enough that when it recoils, it's all recoiling together. The reason for having the two different pressures, especially related to your firing hand, is as you're shooting, the gun starts to recoil. It'll be common to try to clamp down with your firing hand and push into it to stop that recoil. Instead, your support hand should be doing the bulk of the recoil control. A couple years ago, a common demo we used to do, which I know other people do also, is the way I'd have my regular two-handed grip. If I remove my firing hand and just hold the gun with my support hand, I could do this without even supporting the back of the gun. If I just clamp down on this hard, like this, I can pull the trigger with my other hand, not even contacting the gun, and it won't recoil that much. And people are usually surprised with how flat it mostly stays. Again, without even supporting the back strap of the gun. And that just shows how much of the recoil control comes from, or recoil management, from your support hand. And your firing hand doesn't have to do a lot as far as stopping it from recoiling. So you just look where you want it to go, and the guns will just track there, and the bullets will go where your eyes are. Another part, maybe it's a little bit different than what some people would say, is the trigger finger positioning. For me, I like using the joint, the first joint of my trigger finger. I feel like it gives me a little bit more leverage, and it just, an old double action shooter, so double single pistols, Tanfolio, CZ, stuff like that. That was the easiest spot for that. And I still prefer that, even shooting a striker fired gun. So I'll just have, some people talk about just using the whirl of their fingerprint, something like that. I don't feel like I have as much control. So for me, I go all the way up to the first joint. And I feel like, again, I get more leverage, especially shooting stock Glocks or guns that have 5-6 pound triggers. It's a big help with that, to be able to get more leverage and just pull the trigger straight back. So that is the finger positioning I like. So the way I conceptualize it is I'm just holding the gun firmly, kind of crushing the gun with my support hand. My finger basically just goes to that first joint, rests on the trigger, and that's basically it. It's really that simple. A good drill to work on this, to assess if you're doing it correctly or what your grip's doing, is the doubles drill, predictive shooting. We talked about it quite a bit on this channel. What basically is going on is aim the gun at the target. It's good if you use video, by the way. You can just set up your phone to video your hands. That way you can see what the gun's doing. So when you video, you want to have all the way from just a little bit past the muzzle of the gun back to at least your, mid-arms, forearms, up to your elbows, something like that. Just so you can get a very good eye on what your hands and what the gun are doing. So aim the gun at the target, get your grip the way you like it, fire a fast pair of shots. So as fast as you can pull the trigger at 7-yard target, 5 yards, something like that. Fast pair, let the gun recoil, it'll settle, let the gun settle, not bounce. Fire another fast pair, reacquire the sights, another fast pair. Do it for 8 shots, holster up, then draw from the holster again, bop, pause, bop, pause, bop. Do that for 8 rounds, holster up. Do maybe 3 iterations of that. Then just check out your target, look at the pattern on your target, and you can review. Roll that beautiful bean footage, check the video on your phone, and see what your grip's doing. Most phones, you're able to drag the slider. You shouldn't need a program on your computer or anything just to slow down the frame rate. Or if you want to record in slow mode, that works too. But looking at slow-mo, you could watch just the muzzle and see, does the gun separate from, is your hands separating from the gun? Does it seem like the gun's recoiling more than it should? If you watch the muzzle, does it dip before it lifts and recoil? Meaning that you're probably adding some amount of tension where when you pull the trigger, you're doing one of those. So you could just use video to review what's going on with your grip and hopefully give you some places to start or look at. But that's it for Grip for Dummies. Not that tough, I don't think. Well, it's simple. It's just not easy. Again, to recap, I don't get super spun up about the hand position. Instead, I'm more concerned with the pressures. You want the pressures to be the same every time. From when you draw the gun, not firing any ammo in dry fire, or drawing the gun on the range with live ammo. You want that to be identical and the same from the first shot to the last shot, not changing in a perfect world. You just watch the video to make sure your hands are staying in place on the gun. The gun's not flipping out of your hands aren't separating. And then I would really caution you against using any kind of pinky pressure, two-finger pressure, anything like that, trying to add some amount of input into the gun, because it's going to be really tough to have focus on your firing hand. I didn't talk about when you press your trigger finger on the firing hand, you want it to just have your firing hand fire the shot, not the rest of your hand clamping up or tensing while you're trying to pull the shot. Trying to pull the trigger. Otherwise, if you're trying to pull the trigger and everything else is tensing or you're changing tensions, you can already see it's not going to go to a place you probably want it to go. So anyway, that's Handgun Grip for Dummies. Hopefully that's helpful. I guess, like, share, subscribe, whatever. If you have questions, follow up, or you need more videos, drop it below in the comments, and I'll get the videos made.